welcome to another edition of Melanated News You Can Use. We're going to get right into it. Top stories. Karen Bass, first 100 days. We're going to start there. She did it. All right, making sure I'm getting my people in, making sure we're good here. Yeah, welcome. Invite some people in. Great, hi, welcome. Let me know when you arrive. I haven't gone live in a while. So, welcome to yet another edition. We're going to go through it. It's a lot. And I've been kind of just like going through all the data and information. I think this is so relevant. So thank you to those that watch, subscribe, whether you watch live or later. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep the stories rolling. Lots of information, but I want to take this time to invite some people in. So, great. All right. And feel free to share the video. Great. All right. So, I've been, of course, also chasing reparations throughout the great state of California, in addition to Mayor Karen Bass' first 100 days of her administration. And then we also have been watching indigenous rights. And so, interestingly enough, this all ties in together. It's so amazing how this works out. It's really more interconnected than a lot may realize. So, we're live. I'm live. Tune in. And see if this makes sense, you know. I think other states can really get this going as well. So I'm going to get right into it. So the information in her first 100 days, her goal, hello, welcome, thanks for tuning in. Her goal was to get 1,000 people throughout her administration housed. And so I'm going to invite some people in, and hopefully you all been catching up on some of my videos, and if not, you can tune in. We can watch it live together. And thank you. We'll go from there. I have a lot of people to alert. Got a lot going on. So Cherokee American Reparations as well. Definitely want to talk to people about that. And thanks to those that, you know, when I do go live, I feel like, hey, let me send you some information. I appreciate you all. And with the reparations, as people receive the reparations, you also have to know how to apply it to get them. So it's going to be a lot of work, but there are updates, and the updates will be done by June. Thank you. So I'm inviting quite a few friends in. Oh my gosh, like, so whether you watch live or later, I appreciate you. Just, you know, always give me a thumbs up. Let me know you're here. And then it's very interesting because this group that's asking for reparations, they've been asking for a while, and it's starting to come in. Is anyone paying attention? And this is also an opportunity for your voice to be heard. So this is, of course, going to come down to the states. And do you think this is going to be easy? But it'll become federal law. So all the protection that wasn't enforced. This is a great lawsuit, and only certain people can make claim to this lawsuit. So I want to make sure that I keep you all updated there as well. So many great friends to invite in, so thank you. Making sure we're running good here. All right, can you guys hear me?
Watch it live together.
Yay, okay. So I wanted to kind of just, you know, go back to where I was coming out of, and basically the mayor of Los Angeles has provided results. And, you know, what's going on? Okay, you know, thank you for, you know, those that also chime in and we talk about the news. I'm like, oh, that gets me so excited. But a lot's going on with geopolitics as well, with Russia, with the United States, Chinese relations, suspicion, accusations. It's just history repeating itself. So there's some serious things going on. I want to make sure we get that. But where do we begin? It's like this is where geopolitics, international news becomes so interesting. So I'm trying to make sure I heard this correctly. Russia paid off African debt. Is that a lot of people want to know what's going on with that? What's the latest? Was it really that easy to get done? And when you start clearing debts, Russia's engagement with Africa pays off. Some are saying, I guess they're calling it in. So Putin cancels African debts worth over $20 billion. So I want to make sure, like, did we get that one? Okay, maybe some people missed it. So I want to make sure. So now, they can go on and, well, I guess Putin says ties with Africa is a priority. So let's check that out. If anybody wants to know what's going on there, this is happening. And we got a lot to catch up. I want to get into Mayor Bass stuff. It's a lot of information. I'm going to go through it, just really bullet point. And hopefully other states and cities are paying attention, because I think this can be replicated. So here we go.
Да, уделяла и будет уделять первостепенное внимание. Подчеркну, наша страна всегда уделяла и будет уделять первостепенное внимание сотрудничеству с африканскими государствами. Не будет преувеличением сказать, что это один из неизменных приоритетов российской внешней политики. Если мы все-таки примем решение не продлять эту сделку через 60 суток, то мы готовы весь тот объем, который был направлен за предыдущее время в особо нуждающиеся страны Африки, поставить из России в эти страны.
Oh, is this what somebody should have been told me that's what that was about? Oh, okay. So this is over food and seeds and grains. And that's why I keep telling everybody, ain't nobody doing anybody a favor here. No one's doing anyone a favor. I'm going to get into the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, her full results by the numbers. Here we go. Wow. And I was promoting this on my website as well. You can check it out. Yes, make sure you check out my website. Great. So simple. This is amazing. So we're getting to the 100 days of her administration. Well, we're a little past her 100 days in office. And thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Great. Yay, we're here. All right, let's get through this. All right, thank you for tuning in, whether you listen live or later. This is LB Media Group's melanated news you can use. I have to give it up. All right, we're going to get into it. So I have a quote here that I added to my report. And this is what she says after marking the 100th day of her administration. She said, my top priority from day one to day 100 of my administration has been confronting the homelessness crisis with the urgency it requires, and that won't stop, she says. Together we will work to make Los Angeles safer and more livable in every neighborhood. She says she is proud of what she's accomplished so far. She will continue to deliver action that makes life better in every one of Los Angeles neighborhoods. So basically, I've been charting this and I've been noting it as well. And so I'm so thankful as the numbers are coming out. There has been an estimated nearly 4,000 Angelenos who have thus far been housed. So these actions were also coming in from previous work, from people that have been working on this for a very long time. It's a very, very deep issue. So all hands on deck. So Mayor Karen Bass launched a program called Inside Safe. And she's providing interim housing, a lot of it through emergency vouchers. And so this rolls over into permanent housing because you have to see this all the way through. And then also making sure the veterans are taken care of. I'm really happy to see that. So, so as many know, I was right there when she issued the state of emergency, and that was a wake-up call. It really put everyone on high alert. So the goal is lofty, but she's continuing on. So first day, she declared a state of emergency on the homelessness crisis, and maybe we'll go back and revisit that. Maybe we'll take a look at that, because it's laying out and it's happened as it's going along. So hopefully people will share this, they will watch it, they will tune in, because we have some issues with Jim Crow in Mississippi. So it is very important that we understand basic, at least simple civics. Okay? So here's me on the scene, like, what's going on? And let's listen to her speech. I'll go right into the speech. This is great. All right. Thank you for tuning in.
Los Angeles, that we are united and serious about the city's crisis of homelessness. To the nonprofit service providers that are here, thank you for being here. You're on the front lines with the people, saving lives, and we must work together as true partners, and moving forward we will. I am proud to be joined by Supervisor and President, Chairwoman of the County Board of Supervisors, Janice Hahn, the President of the City Council, Paul Krikorian, the Pro Tem of the City Council, Curran Price, the Chairwoman of the Housing and Homeless Committee, Nithya Raman, and providers throughout our city, as well as all of the general managers. I started this first day as your mayor, leading the meeting that just concluded with the heads of our city departments and those of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority and LA Metro, to brief them on the emergency declaration that I'm about to sign, and to start our collective work to solve the homelessness crisis. My mandate is to move Los Angeles in a new direction with an urgent and strategic approach to solving one of our city's toughest challenges and creating a brighter future for every Angelino. Today, on my first day of office, we hit the ground running with a sea change in how the city tackles homelessness, declaring a state of emergency and activating the Emergency Operations Center. I will not accept a homelessness crisis that afflicts more than 40,000 Angelinos and affects every one of us. It is a humanitarian crisis that takes the life of 5 people every day. In every neighborhood, we can see the failures of the status quo: despair, desperation, human suffering. And our children are growing up knowing nothing else than this. It must stop, and change starts now. My emergency declaration unlocks tools and powers to make sure we are using every resource possible at the scale that is needed to save lives and restore our neighborhoods. There will be no holding back on my watch. The death rate and mass displacement of LA's homelessness crisis exceeded those of our most tragic natural disasters, like the Northridge earthquake and Hurricane Harvey. It is long overdue that we have declared it an emergency, and my administration will address it through an emergency structure by activating the Emergency Operations Center. An effective strategy against homelessness cannot be run like just any other city function. We will increase the scale and speed of the city's approach to homelessness by removing it from the traditional city hall way of doing things. Instead, my administration's work against homelessness will be driven urgently and strategically through the incredibly effective emergency management way of doing things. People still talk about how fast we rebuilt the freeways after the Northridge earthquake. It's because those projects were not run through the traditional process. They were run through an emergency structure like the one we are harnessing today. We must drive a proactive citywide strategy that solves problems at scale and ultimately drives a solution. This is what this is all about. This is part of a seismic shift we're making to solve the homelessness crisis. We must bring people indoors faster, and we will. We must build housing faster, and we will. We must coordinate shelter and services, and we will.
You got to
we
coordinate.
Must have coordination among the city officials, the city departments, and we will, because we are doing things differently. And you can see by who's together in this room today. The actions we are creating today, the structure necessary for Los Angeles to finally have a comprehensive and citywide approach to homelessness. I have already been working with members of the City Council, the City Attorney, City Controller, and members of the County Board of Supervisors during the transition, and I will work closely with them as mayor. If different levels of government are pursuing different strategies to homelessness, even more lives will be lost. Los Angeles will be lost. Instead, I will lead a citywide strategy that marshals resources, creates accountability, and drives results. And that is at the core of a regional strategy. The executive order that I will sign in the coming days to create the Inside Safe program will create a citywide approach to tackling encampments and street homelessness, to provide people with housing and services, and to restore our public spaces. It builds upon the encampment to home model that we have seen work in individual locations. This declaration of emergency will allow us to take this individual location approach and take it to scale and build a citywide, proactive, strategic, rapid housing model. The foundation of coordination among the city, county, and service providers gives us the launch path to more. But we know the only way to make this work is to have housing solutions lined up and ready to go. They must be immediately available. They must be located near the same community where the unhoused individuals live, and they must be coupled with real efforts of permanent housing, because temporary housing needs to be just that, temporary. To do that, we will launch an aggressive unit acquisition strategy, master leasing apartments and motel rooms across the city. But when someone accepts an offer to live temporarily in a motel, they should be right in line for a permanent home of their own. That's how the system is supposed to work. So we'll pair Inside Safe with our work to fast track the opening of HHH, Home Key, and other permanent homes. And I will make sure that we respond to the voters' approval of Measure ULA with careful stewardship of those funds by not repeating the slow timelines and high costs that have caused frustration with other efforts. This is my first day as mayor. It is a start of a new, urgent, and sustained approach to our greatest challenge. Again, thank you all for joining, and now we will sign the declaration and...
Can you go lower? Go a little lower.
All right, so basically, I was there to get all that. It really set the tone. I do appreciate your comments. Thank you so much. And so she goes in to sign this executive order. This was her executive directive. And basically it's clear. She says here, and the goal was to reduce the number of encampments. If you've ever been to LA, if you've seen this in your own cities throughout the United States, those encampments are those tents that people set up. It's almost like a little community village there, because they have plotted themselves and they have sectioned off that area, but there's no order there. It's chaos and it's disgusting, and it can only, that's a temporary of an ultimate temporary that people have made permanent. It is not, just not livable. So to reduce the number of encampments and then not just clearing it away, like brushing the problem under the rug, then there was actual solutions into some temporary, maybe just let's get you out of this rain, this crazy El Nino, La Nina, whatever's going on with this climate change, mudslide, earthquake, emergency disaster. So on top of a state of emergency, then there's an emergency weather, climate disaster, and I'm watching this as well, taking it in stride. But then, yes, still keeping her eye on the prize and curing and combating homelessness. So then she launched a new strategy from there. Inside Safe, you'll hear throughout some of this, and I'm thinking this is genius. So here's some updates, because I'm extremely consistent, so I'm gonna make sure that you all get the updates as well. I want to make sure. So, great. Thank you to those tuning in. I appreciate you all. And let's go. All right. So she gets into her executive order, this just going in, inside safe. And what was one of my favorite is when she really sped up the affordable housing. And I don't know if anybody, understands what we're talking about, but this affordable housing and it's supposed to make life easier. Remember all these things. So I knew it was real on her 5th day. That speech I was able to get as well. And I'm tracking just to really, wow, this is happening and I can testify. I can testify. Putting the right people in place. So a lot of people are very quick to down when things are not working well in politics. And at some point, why not highlight what is also working? So I like to do that. I like to focus on the positive. So let's get into that as well. So we got to see the breaking ground on a new affordable housing and what they call the projects. I don't know, whatever they want to call it. But making sure people okay, yeah, that's important. Great.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. And as Dora said, today is day 5.
Counting the 100
This
days.
has been a very eventful week. And as she mentioned, these are discussions that have been going on for quite a while. And I'm so glad that we can stand here today and say, now we have moved into action. But I want to thank Dora and your team at the Community of Friends for your dedication to providing homes to bring Angelenos and veterans indoors. This project, as was mentioned, took 16 years to break ground, and that's something that we are here today to fix. I want to thank Supervisor Solis for joining me here today and for her partnership, but also because of the incredible work she has already done, along with my former colleague in the state legislature, Kevin Murray, have already housed hundreds of folks in the developments that they have built. I want to thank Metro CEO Stephanie Wiggins as well. The MTA is a key partner to a comprehensive citywide approach to homelessness, and I know that you both agree with me that we must move our city in a new direction on housing and homelessness. The project that will rise on this site will provide 49 affordable housing units, half of them for veterans, 32 of them to bring homeless Angelenos inside, and I'm going to keep saying this, it took 16 years to break ground. Today, we are taking action to bring a new direction to City Hall and to Los Angeles' approach to homelessness. As mayor, I will just not accept any delays of any kind when it comes to the homelessness emergency. That's why we declared a state of emergency in the city of Los Angeles on Monday, with an executive directive that eliminates delays, cuts costs, and sets urgent timelines to get affordable housing built. Everyone knows that time is money, and I will tell you, over the last year, I can't recount the number of times I have talked to people who try to build affordable housing, and they talk about the reason why it costs so much is because of the length of time it takes. Well, key to reducing that length of time is cutting red tape and speeding the construction timeline that will save precious dollars that can then be invested in more housing and more solutions for our homelessness crisis. Here is the change that starts today. If you build affordable housing under my executive directive, the city will complete the approval process within 60 days. Then, when construction starts, the permit, utility, and certificate of occupancy process will be completed in just 5 days. Yeah. That's 5 days for 100% affordable housing projects and in no more than 2 days for temporary housing. That is the urgency we need at City Hall, and that is what we are delivering. How on earth could we expect to house 40,000 people if we continued business as usual? Before my directive, affordable housing projects of a certain size, even if they would be approved in the end, would first be put through a maze of additional city steps. More paperwork, more hearing, more delays, more costs, and to avoid that, projects are being built with fewer units than they could be. Developers are just saying, I'll reduce the number of units so that we can build faster, but we need the exact opposite build. Moreover, to avoid needless, costly, and time-consuming red tape, affordable housing projects are only being built in certain locations and not others. And this is at a time when we need housing all across Los Angeles. I talked about this on Sunday. The neighborhoods where housing is being built are already neighborhoods that are severely overcrowded. That's why all Angelenos have to have skin in the game. With more than 40,000 Angelenos unhoused, we need more affordable housing, not less. With some of the highest rents and mortgages in the nation, we need more affordable housing, not less. We need more, we need it faster, and that's what my executive director will bring. By declaring a state of emergency, by activating the city's Emergency Operations Center, by signing this executive directive today, we are breaking City Hall away from its traditional approach that is focused on process and replacing it with a new approach that is focused on solutions, results, and speed. Thank you very much.
All right, so basically, they started listing and looking into what were some areas that had some available space, what were some properties that maybe not being used. Basically, many cities already have the solutions. It's about bringing them forward, implementing these solutions. So it's just great for a good idea to actually be enacted. So that's what's so great. So you can fast forward. We got the numbers and statistics coming out of that. So basically, here it is. Let's break it down in a nutshell. Unlocking public land for housing. More land means more housing. Remember, all this colonization has been over land, okay? So, for example, this executive director requires city agencies to comprehensively review and identify city-owned land. All that confiscation, people losing areas, come on. What happened? The land is still there. All right, let's do a land acknowledgement. Let's recognize the indigenous people. When we talk about land, the city owns this land. Wow. Great. Is it being used to take care of the people? Isn't that what this is all about? Jeez. So, in partnership with city departments and nonprofit partners, the mayor and her team analyzed more than 3,000 parcels of city-owned land to determine which sites can be utilized in the immediate term. And I know this sounds like, oh, it's Los Angeles, the city's already built, everything's already taken. You would be surprised. Come on, like, let's keep it real. Let's keep it all the way real. Like, there's a lot going on here. So I've been, again, tracing, tracking, following, covering. Is this happening? And so I'm going to get deeper into this. So then the metro. So y'all know the city, transportation, the buses, and the, railways. What's up? What's up? Thank you. I want to get to some of y'all's comments. Let's get to some of y'all's comments. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you to those that tuned in. Let's see. Someone said, because you can recognize the compassion here. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the comments. Keep commenting. Thank you. It seems very compassionate to me, huh? This seems like extremely compassionate care. I appreciate it. So your city is trying to crucify your mayor? This city is trying to crucify its man. Oh, you want these things to work together. You want the city, the county to work together. Hey, what's up? Oh my gosh, New Orleans. Oh my gosh. Somebody said that's one of the most corrupt. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up with that? Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I appreciate y'all. So there's a lot of land to be had. And the city has confiscated from certain groups using eminent domain. So I don't understand why it can't be used here, but hopefully we'll get deeper into that. We still good here? Yeah. Remember when they were just hijacking people's land? Y'all, all this has always been over land. So now this mayor is saying, okay, all right, the city owns land, right? Why aren't we putting it to good use? So the Metro Board approved a motion to maximize the use of Metro property. Let's say they were like, oh, we're going to make this or that. And the Metro was like, we'll make this a Metro stop. We'll make this a train stop. We'll do this. And let's say that those things is kind of whatever. Maybe there's some land around it that they own it. You know, some spacing. Maybe you can redirect. So there was some changes. And that Metro property can now be used. See, something like that, simple like that. This is smart solutions. Temporary and permanent housing. 182 properties they were able to find for potential temporary or permanent housing, including 109 of them just in the city of Los Angeles. It's like, stop acting like you don't have it. So then, this is what I love. It's so genius. This mayor, yes, she's unique, but come on, let's work together. Her using congressional resources. HUD. I wanted to play this from HUD. Because HUD was like, they gave the city of Los Angeles $60 million. And I said, okay, this is working. These things are happening. So I wanted to show my sister here. Because everybody's about fighting this homelessness now. Everybody's about it. Other cities are like, no, this is a thing. Los Angeles is not the only city with this issue. Other cities have these issues. Many states, cities, counties criminalize homelessness. And these people are put in jail just for trying to find somewhere to sleep. And it's just inhumane. But you know what? What's on the horizon as we are, okay, the 100 days has happened. We're pretty much as part. The next task is preventing homelessness. Now we're addressing homelessness. All right, those that are teetering on the brink, preventing homelessness. Let's get into it. All right. Yes. HUD is getting in, y'all, $60 million just for homelessness, not for middle income, not for this, like directly to homelessness. So I wanted to show that. I really love listening because it's just amazing. It's just amazing. $60 million. And other cities have gotten funds as well. Some, let's see. Great. So Chicago was given $60 million as well. Oh my gosh. That was a blessing. Chicago also got $60 million. And I believe these are like grants and how they're using it. So I'm appreciating hearing this in conjunction with what we have going on as well. So yes, all this is coming in. It trickles. I guess this is the trickle-down economy we always said we wanted. Is this what we said we wanted? So all this, think about this, is going on in the midst. This is before the pandemic. Then the pandemic made it even more difficult. So think about that. People couldn't work. Businesses are shutting down. So everyone should be listening and learning, right? Thank you to those that are commenting, that are watching. Come on, tune in, share the video, invite some people, and listen and learn. Whether you're listening live or later, thank you. Melanated news you can use. Things are happening. So, oh my gosh. Now we're in the spring season. All right. Things are coming out of that winter time, and here we are. On top of that, housing, COVID, inflation. Y'all, the economy, massive layoffs. I didn't even include all that in my report. So sometimes they say, well, a lot of groups will be hurting. Think about it. Other groups will be hurting. And suffering from unemployment. So, yay, we're getting it done. And if you pay close attention, you can offer these solutions. They actually work. There's actually a test that says it works. If you apply these solutions with some compassion and stop trying to exploit, great. All right. See if I can get some more. So there's major cities that are working very closely with the federal government, and I think it's a great thing when you can see. Let's see if we can get this. This was probably about when Lightfoot was still in office, so give us a break here. And she's since been voted out, so the Chicago mayoral race is also one to watch, because you want to make sure that these funds are being distributed properly, or you're going to have a Mississippi with the water crisis. So Chicago is also a big major player in this as well. Let's see if I can get it here right when she's. All right, great.
Marsha L. Fudge.
Thank you very much. Thank you all so much. There are some things I enjoy doing more than others. Certainly I enjoy serving people. That is what I do. That is my life's work. But I really enjoy giving money to people. So I am here today in the Windy City, a place where this is so needed, but so deserved, to announce today that HUD is issuing to 46 communities more than $300 million in grants directed toward unsheltered homelessness and rural homelessness. And I'm in Chicago because Chicago received the largest grant of $60 million. So I want the mayor and our housing authority and, of course, all Chicago to come and stand with me as I give you this check for $60 million. We know that it is going to make a difference.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
I want to say that it has been a long time coming when this country and the nation's mayors have come together to address something that we have ignored for far too long. When I got off the plane yesterday, I remarked on how cold it was. No one should be sleeping on the streets in this kind of weather. A nation that cannot take people off the street has failed. So I'm here to say thank you to all of you. Mayor, I'm going to turn the podium over to you because I don't have much more to say than $60 million. Mayor, thank you so much.
So this is one of those mic drop moments, right? and let me, I'm not gonna...
I love it. I love it. So we have our lady mayor, and I love it. I love it. So $60 million directly for that issue. We have this going on with our city as well. So I wanted to make sure that that was a great, great day. And this was happening at the same time. You can actually track it. Los Angeles, Chicago got the largest amount. So I'm coming out of the mayor's press office. and trying to get caught up like, nah, what's going on, Marsha Fudge? Does she have something to say about this? And I see that she's over because I follow her and what she's doing, the amazing things she's doing. And I see that, Chicago is also getting $60 million. That's a lot of money. That's great. That's great. So here's us getting our $60 million. Great. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you.
To begin my day with $60 million. I want to point out and emphasize that today we have the chair of the County Board of Supervisors, Janice Hahn, LASA's Chief Program Officer, Molly Reisman, Doug Guthrie from the City Housing Authority, Emilio Salas from the LA County Development Authority, and Helene Schneider from the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness. I raise their names and point this out again because we have to have every level of government in alignment to address this crisis. So I am so encouraged that one more time you see us joining together, and even more encouraged to lock arms today with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Secretary Marsha Fudge and Regional Administrator Jason Pugh, who is here and has delivered $60 million. You might remember that last June, Secretary Fudge came to Los Angeles. I tried to bring many federal officials through Los Angeles so they could see the magnitude of the crisis that we are dealing with here. I was very excited when President Biden decided that homelessness was going to be a key strategy with all in, and that the goal is to reduce homelessness by 25% in the country. And so my appeal to the administration is just come to LA. If we are able to significantly reduce homelessness in Los Angeles, we can absolutely contribute to the national goal of reducing homelessness by 25%. So I thank everyone here for their work on this issue and our continued effort with Inside Safe to get people who are on the street right now, who are suffering the most, off the street and into housing. In addition, my executive directive to reduce the time and cost of building affordable housing and shelter in LA is already underway, and we are discovering barriers that have prevented or slowed down the building of housing or placing of individuals. We're identifying these barriers, and we are identifying what we need to cast these barriers aside. So I'm very happy to be here today and to continue to work. We are building a very strong partnership between the city and the county, and you know that has been one of the fundamental problems in our area, and we are expanding that partnership to include the state and the federal government.
Hi, yes, Lila Brown, LB Media Group. I just wanted to learn a little bit more about the collaborative process with Secretary Fudge and how that makes it much more effective leadership.
Sure.
And the Congressional Black Caucus, your bond there as well.
Yes. Well, from the time I entered the campaign, I was talking to my federal counterparts about the situation in Los Angeles. I thought it was very important that federal leaders come here and see again the magnitude of the problem, which is why I invited Secretary Fudge to come and have been talking to her throughout the year about barriers, some of which originated at HUD, some of which are barriers we've placed upon ourselves. This Tuesday, Helene Schneider, the agency that she represents, the Interagency Council on Homelessness, the director will be coming out, Jeff Olivat, and he'll be available to speak to the press more about the President's initiative. I've also had Ambassador Susan Rice come out from the Domestic Policy Council, and we took her so that she would understand the magnitude. I've spoken to Secretary Becerra, who's from Los Angeles, Health and Human Services. Yes, right, we were in Congress together, and I spoke to him about coming out because you know that we cannot solve this problem without addressing the health issues whether it's mental health, whether it's substance abuse, or chronic health conditions that lead to homelessness. I asked him specifically if he would come, but also if he would send the SAMHSA director. SAMHSA stands for Substance Abuse Mental Health Agency, so that they can come and see the fact that we do not have the infrastructure for drug treatment that we need to have. And drug treatment can't be collapsed into mental health. We have to have those services in order to succeed long term. It's not about just getting people off the street for a few weeks. It's about getting them off the street permanently and ending street homelessness.
Yes! Yes! Oh, I could not ask for a better response. Like, okay, key player alert. Now, what's going on with reparations? So California, now that we didn't brought our way to the federal, California has a reparations task force, and we have some updates is there as well. I was actually listening a little bit into National Public Radio, and whew, I mean, do y'all like? Somebody saying $800 billion. To my people, feel free to answer. How do you feel about $800 billion? How would you feel there? How? Don't worry. Somebody is working on it. Every little nook, corner, and cranny. So if you want to learn a little bit more what's happening there, thank you for tuning in. California Reparations Task Force.
$800 billion to provide reparations for descendants of enslaved people.
Yeah, that number was just released this morning, and it'll be discussed in a public hearing that begins today. KCR3's Leticia Ordaz joins us live in Sacramento with more on what's expected to happen to move these reparations forward in the Golden State.
Mike and Brandy, good morning. It's expected to be a packed house here at the Cal EPA building in downtown Sacramento. This is here on I Street. A lot of people are expected to show up, and organizers are hoping the community will come out to make their voices heard. So this task force was formed by the governor in 2020, and right now they have the big task of coming up with a final figure for reparations by July 1st. They have to figure out how they are going to pay back not just the people who are descendants of slaves, but the generations of people impacted by unfair policing, disproportionate incarceration, and housing discrimination. The $800 billion being suggested is more than 2.5 times the annual budget for the state of California. Critics argue that California was not a slave state and therefore should not have to pay the price. The community can weigh in virtually or in person today or tomorrow, and the public portion comment is happening from 9:15 until 11:15 today and tomorrow. So whatever is suggested here then goes on to the state capitol, and then the lawmakers as well as the governor will have the final say. In downtown Sacramento, Leticia Ordaz, KCL.
Great. So it's happening. Yeah, let's get into this one. This was quick and easy. Let's do this one. We're gonna keep it going. Here for the chairperson herself, the chairwoman. Yeah, sorry about that.
Task force is considering how to compensate Black Californians for past harm.
KCRA3's Golston Dart shows us how the group is studying to calculate the damage.
Well, Lisa and Ty, there's this 500-page report. It's been released. It details a history of discrimination against African Americans dating back to colonial times up through the present day. And in September, the task force held a meeting in Los Angeles where a team of economic consultants then presented for the first time possible monetary figures associated with the impact from years of what they call state-sanctioned harms or atrocities. The chairperson of the task force is Camila Moore. She says that no recommendations have been made so far. Moore said that the report by the economics group tasked with actually calculating California's harms selected 5 areas for possible remedy.
Notice housing discrimination. Why we have Mayor Bass on the scene. Working. Notice housing discrimination. Thank you. All right. Property takings, would they say, oh, now city-owned property. Okay, but a lot of that city-owned property was taken through eminent domain. Devaluation of Black businesses. These are ways we've been harmed. The harms have been identified: health harms, medical apartheid, then over-policing, mass incarceration.
remedies. They are housing discrimination, unjust property takings, devaluation of black businesses, health harms, and mass incarceration and over-policing. So then economists came up with a number, $569 billion. That would represent the maximum liability for the state of California.
That $569 billion figure came from the economic consultant team's presentation, where we pretty much instructed them over the summer to gather data that could help substantiate a claim for reparations in the form of compensation.
In March, the task force decided to go with a lineage-based community of eligibility. That's what they call it. That means that not all black Californians in the state of California would actually be eligible for these reparations. Ty.
Golston, thanks. And the task force has until July 1st to write its final report with recommendations for a legislative bill package.
Great. So I've been following along. Camila's been doing an excellent job. Of course, people have been harassing her to get this right. It's pretty bad what she's been going through, as you can imagine. The burden of taking on that. The threat isn't coming from whites. It's actually coming from black people. I think they're going to bully her. But my thing is this. What's your state doing? Get on that. Everybody can participate. You'd be surprised. A lot of people that are not entitled to reparations, they may appear to be same skin as you, but they are actually against it. So they are on their final proposal. All right, let's keep it going. Because this has been a top story, I haven't been able to get as in depth as I would have liked. So thank you for those that are also interested in reparations, more so. And then eventually some of our stories will make its way over into indigenous rights. And you will come to learn that these are all connected. They're all connected. Yes, they are. Thank you.
Has made a big decision. Last night, it held a vote on who is eligible for compensation, and the results were close. ABC 10's Monica Coleman joins us now. So, Monica, where does the group stand this morning?
Well, the 9-member task force, by a 5-4 vote, decided reparations will be limited to the descendants of enslaved people. ABC 10 spoke to Camilla Moore, chairperson of the task force, to find out why they decided to base the payments on lineage and not race. Going against the argument, all black people, regardless of lineage, deserve reparations because of systematic racism in housing, education, and employment.
Lineage matters. When we're talking about reparations for the institution of slavery, we're talking about a particular group of people and a particular crime against humanity, that being the institution of slavery as it was enacted and constructed in the United States.
The task force also opened eligibility to freed black people who came to the country in the 19th century due to it may be difficult to prove the bloodline of the time one was enslaved. When it comes to compensation, it could be in the form of free college, assistance buying a home, or launching businesses and grants to churches, but the task force has not voted on a concrete plan.
So, Monica, what are the next steps with this?
So, Bria, there's a lot of questions still, right? So there will be another meeting today. We'll be following up on that because the task force still needs to talk about how they are going to get reparations out to the people who are eligible and furthering this onward.
I can think of a lot of questions that come along with it, but hopefully we'll have some answers on that in the coming meetings.
Yay!
Monica,
great reporting from everybody. Everybody is getting in, and I'm so happy for Camila Moore, the chairwoman, leading the way on this. She's doing an excellent job. I haven't seen anyone do better than she has or come as far as she has come. So California being appointed by the governor, this is a big deal. So hopefully, again, a great leadership example of how to get this done. So the report is coming out. A lot more information and hopefully final proposals. So let me know what you think. It'd be great to see where you all are on this. And hopefully you like what you're seeing and learning, and this makes you feel a little bit better going into the future as these things are taking place. So thank you. Great.
Black History Month, California is making history of its own. It's the first state to create Reparations Task Force to study how slavery and systemic racism have harmed Black Americans in this country. Now, the group is almost finished a final proposal outlining what compensation should look like and who would be able to benefit. Don Bassiano was one of the many people who told their stories of racial injustice to this task force. She shared how her ancestors came to Coloma, California, that's a gold rush town, as enslaved people. They gained their freedom and they worked very hard to buy more than 400 acres of land, which included a gold discovery site. Then the state seized it under eminent domain. So instead of being passed down through her family, the land was turned into the Marshall Gold Discovery State Historic Park. We met Bassiano on that land, and she told us what reparations would look like for her.
Imagine being able to look around and see, all this is mine. You know, I own this. This is within my family. I wouldn't have to worry about, am I going to have enough when I retire? Where am I going to be? You know, financially, what are things going to look like? That wouldn't be a concern. And that's reality when you talk about generational wealth. And that generational wealth was ripped away. Pearlie Monroe is my great-grandfather, and he planted most of the trees that you see here. Slavery was here. It wasn't like the South, but it was here. My great-grandmother, Evelyn Binion, married Pearlie Monroe in 1931, and Pearlie Monroe is the grandson of Nancy and Peter Gooch. Nancy and Peter came to California as slaves to work in the mines. When California became a state, they were allowed their freedom. Nancy started making money for herself. She sewed, she cooked. Her and her husband, Peter, bought some 20, 30 acres of land out here in Coloma. And from there, just continued to buy more land. Coloma was at one point essentially a Black town. There were Black business owners here. You know, they owned homes, property. When folks outside saw that the land had some value, that's when you see the shift and you see it slowly moving from this place where Black families lived to, you know, white families coming in and displacing them. 200 acres was actually taken through eminent domain. It hurts. It hurts because Pearlie fought so hard to keep this land up here. He went to court, he tried to fight, and, you know, and ultimately he wasn't able to keep anything. And it hurts to walk up here and see what he saw, touch what he may have touched. They never lived here. They owned it, but they never lived here. It was strictly for rental property. And it's just something that should have stayed within the family, and it didn't. So I almost want to go around the entire house and just touch everything, you know? If he was not forced to give up his land, we would still be living up here, enjoying everything that's here. The river, the water. The trees would not look the way that they do now. These trees should be bearing fruit, you know. We need some truth behind what's displayed and what's told. But the story is that he sold. You see that in many, many places. Oh no, Pearlie sold the land to the state. No, they came and took the land. And say it. It was taken through eminent domain. You know, you have to dig for it to learn who lived here and that slavery even existed here. Reparations for me looks like getting what pieces of the park that are here that the state owns returned to the family. And then the full and true story being told, you know, that story of my family. That's what reparations looks like for me.
Dawn Bassiano is not the only person who's claiming that her family was forced to sell their land to build this state park. There are other Black families that have come forward as well. The Reparations Task Force is recommending that the state now create an agency which would process and corroborate claims for reparations. California's governor gave the task force until July to recommend what compensation would look like and, more importantly, who would qualify. I think a big shout out and thank you to Dawn Bassiano for telling that story, because I think it's confusing for a lot of people. What is it? How would it work? But when she lays it out the way she did, you can really understand why people feel, hey, this wasn't right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we gotta make our story relatable for them to have any compassion towards what happened. So anyways, a lot of y'all that have so much land in your family and then you're like, oh, they lost it or they sold it, you'll come to find out they were forced to sell it. So yeah, that's where we are with that. That's a mess. So pretty much that's, what more can I say outside of that? Like, what more can I do outside of that? Right? It's like, that's enough. And these are the things we kind of like skim by. We're like, oh yeah, that happened. And we kind of just like go on without it. No, that's a big deal, because now that it's time to find some land for homelessness, there's a hesitation on eminent domain. And I'm like, what's with the hesitation on eminent domain? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So why is there a hesitation for all of a sudden? Like, that same protection should be retroactive, and that land should be then given to the descendants of people whose land were confiscated based on race, based on, we think because you have melanin and this color and texture of your hair and skin color that you should not have. We've decided you shall not have. So where was eminent domain with the Bruce family? Like, so we're going to get there eventually. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for your comments. Let's see. I appreciate all of your comments. Yes, the gold rush happened. People brought laborers. People promised things. If you find this, there was a lot of contracts made. And so you can imagine. Yes. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. So what I like to do with Melanated News You Can Use is we go back over a lot of stories. We recap. I review, and I do this live on my Facebook, and then eventually makes its way over to Instagram and YouTube as well, where you can sit and watch. I'll add some clips to Instagram. So come on over to the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe as well. All right, these are some of my top stories. I'm watching things. We also have a story about how a lot of these American Indian tribes are also figuring out reparations. Did you know? We are owed so many reparations in so many ways. So I think if people just kind of sat and focused on that, you wouldn't be putting so much work into the labor force. You'd be working on a different agenda and program, which is first figuring out what happens to your family so you can make the proper claim. Does that make sense? All right, so we have the Muskogee now who are stepping up, following in the ways of Cherokee Nation as a principal nation. So yes, the Muskogee are still fighting for citizen rights because that's been infiltrated by the United States as well, just like COINTELPRO. Come in there and just change everything up. It's just really, really bad. Let's see if we can get some news for you all here. So if you ever heard in your family that y'all got some Indian in y'all, or y'all are Cherokee or other tribes, you might want to listen up. You may learn something from what other people are fighting for. And a lot of this is just being made public, how long these people have been fighting. So outside of cognitive dissonance, these are the stories of Muskogee Creeks pushing for tribal citizenship. And these are my top stories: Mayor Bass, reparations, indigenous rights. These are indigenous Americans, and they've been wronged. And this is a group that's been consistently, legendary, historically been wrong. And it's happened to Native American indigenous people, and these are their stories.
First at 9:30, Black Creek Native Americans, or Creek Freedmen, are demanding to be citizens of the Muskogee Creek Nation. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Jonathan Cooper.
And I'm Tatum Gwen. The Creek Freedmen hosted a rally tonight before an upcoming court hearing tomorrow. News on 6's Mackenzie Gladney is live with those details. Mackenzie?
Well, Jonathan, Tatum, a judge will determine.
I want to make sure we're good here. Are we following? So here comes all the colors, the black, Native Americans. Calling these people black, Native Americans. Are y'all following? Okay, is this starting to make sense to some of y'all? Great. So basically, the group that's been wrong, harmed, done wrong, do you think the people on the Trail of Tears also held slaves? Do you think the people who were forced to flee their homes and cede their lands after countless wars and battles and skirmishes and, you know, siding with this side, turning against this tribe, do you think that these American Indian groups then went on and held slaves? So you got to make it make sense, okay? People who were affiliated with the indigenous people, people that had befriended, you know, a lot of the land, oh, you got the land, we got them to sign off on their land. One person who is adjacent to a tribe, who's closely related to the tribe, giving up thousands of acres and that was not in agreement with the people. So they had to go back and work on a lot of these things. So, great. Here we go. Keep the story going.
In Tatum, a judge will determine if Muskogee Creek Freedmen should have the right to be Native citizens. Now, Article 2 of the Creek Treaty of 1866 says tribes like Muskogee Creek Nation must end slavery within tribal nations and make former slaves members. The Justice for Black Creeks Coalition says the Creek Nation took away those rights in 1979. So at tonight's rally, we heard from several speakers who say that treaty is valid and the tribe should honor its word. Jeff Kennedy is one of the people who filed the lawsuit, and he says he doesn't want to have his ancestors' history erased.
We now are architects, we're engineers, and we are more than willing and exciting to go in and bolster our own nation. We've been organized and trying to find a way to get back home. This is our home. This is our home, and this is our story.
Now, Creek Nation did send us a statement, and it says, in part, the matter before the court is not a question of race. It's a matter of determining whether our government is obligated by treaty to enroll individuals as citizens who were not Creek Indians. And tomorrow's hearing is just one step in the legal process. Now, again, that hearing is tomorrow morning. Live in Tulsa, Mackenzie Gladney, Oklahoma's Own.
Okay, remember, there was burning downs, there was terrorism, and that group is saying, you're not Creek. You got people that burned down Greenwood, Black Wall Street, saying what? Saying you're not Creek Indians, you're not indigenous. The people whose roots come from Europe, Asia, Russia, they say they're indigenous now. They say they're the Indians. If you can't see how violent that is, so people should be keeping their eyes, ears open, because more tribes are like, gotta wake up. And these people have never sued. Why is this happening now? Because these people never even thought to sue. Things are being escalated to the Supreme Court. People just kind of let, well, I don't want to say they never sued because they've really been, but it's escalating. It definitely is. That much is true. A lot of these people have been working. Some people gave up the fight and they didn't, so they kind of let it. But as more people are joining in, it's growing, and people are presenting their paperwork and their documents, and it was all race-based. And so proving racism, that's not difficult. So the trial date has been set, and it's coming up. So that's why I'm bringing it up now. Thank you for those that are tuning in. Anybody ever heard that they had Indian in their family? Yeah, as you can see, the United States has played a lot of schemes with the land rights, bombing districts. So these people cannot be trusted, and not sure why people still trust them. But these people are indigenous. They are in fact the original nations, and they've always had to play these other codes just to move things along. But they are making a claim for indigenous rights, and I cheer them on. So thank you. Here is their latest argument.
Scheduled for April 4th, 2023, in a civil lawsuit seeking Muskogee Creek Nation citizenship for 2 Creek freedmen descendants. The petition filed in the MCN District Court on March 11th, 2020, alleges that Rhonda K. Grayson and Jeffrey Kennedy applied for MCN citizenship and were denied. The petition seeks a declaratory judgment from the court that all Creek freedmen descendants are Creek citizens under Article 2 of the 1866 treaty. December 1st, 2022, a hearing was held on a motion for summary judgment filed by the plaintiffs in the case, but MCN District Court Judge Danette Mauser has not issued an order granting summary judgment as of the publication of this update. Demario Solomon Simmons, who represents Grayson and Kennedy in the case, spoke to the media after the conclusion of the hearing.
All right, I'm attorney Demario Solomon Simmons. I'm standing here with my family, really, with my clients, Rhonda Grayson to my right, Jeff Kennedy to my left, and many, many other Black Creek Indians, also known as Creek Freedmen, and many supporters who come from all over this nation to come here to this case. And before I talk about the case, I do want to address how we were treated by getting down here. They bought out police as if we were going to be terrorists. They treated our people with contempt. They were making people stand outside in the cold. They were making people who would come down, flew here from California and Kansas City and Detroit, Michigan, all over Las Vegas, to stand out. This is a public courtroom with a public hearing, but I think it really shows what Black Creeks have been going through for 43 years. The humiliation, degradation, discrimination that we have suffered since 1979. That was what we were talking about today, and we felt that and dealt with that even coming to a court case. I do want to say I appreciate our judge. I felt like she was fair today. I felt like she understood what was going on in the courtroom and allowed us to present our case despite the nation's obstruction during our arguments. We put on a compelling case, clear case, a specific case that said in Article 2, the Creek Treaty of 1866 says Creeks of African descent are entitled to full citizenship rights and benefits as any other Creek. That's the case. That's the case. The nation was upset because we had to talk about some of the history behind this discriminatory policy. But there's always been certain elements within the nation that had a Confederate bent and hated Black Creeks. That's relevant because it's not everyone within the Creek Nation that are against Black Creeks. Most are not. But it's that small but loud minority who are anti-Black. But they will not prevail. No. The psalm says there is weeping at night, but joy comes in the morning. For 43 years, Creek freedmen, Black Creeks, have been in a night of discrimination. But the joy of the morning of all of you here, the world seeing the light of day, that if the Creek Nation is going to be a nation of laws, they have to follow the law. They have to follow the same law that they want us to follow with the McGirt decision. It said the Creek Treaty of 1866 is in force. Rhonda, would you like to say anything as one of our main claimants?
Well, I'm just pleased to be here today. I think that our legal counsel did an outstanding job of presenting the case. I think the judge was fair. I do believe that if she follows the law, the treaties are the supreme law of the land, the 1866 treaty, if she follows that, our citizenship will be affirmed and hundreds of thousands of Creek freedmen will be able to take their rightful place back into the nation of our ancestors' birth, back into the nation of our birth.
Okay. I just got one thing to say. The 1866 treaty is the supreme law of the land. That's what I have.
I want to acknowledge my co-counsel. I don't see Eric Jones. I see David Riggs and Kim Hepper. My other co-counsel, my counsel on my firm, Solomon Simmons, Emma, my paralegal, Beatrice, the entire Justice for Greenwood team, the entire Terrence Crutcher Foundation team, Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, a great partner in this Black Creek Coalition, the Muskogee Creek Indian Freedmen Band, and everybody that came down here to support. I want to acknowledge and give them. It was not easy to come down, take off from work, during the middle of the day, drive down from wherever you're coming from or flying here and be in the cold to stand up for Black Creeks. We were hoping for a decision today. We didn't get it, but she said she's going to give us a decision before our trial date, which is in April. We're going to prepare for trial if she does not give us a decision, but we believe that we will get citizenship. And if it doesn't work here, we'll go to the federal court. There you go. Thank you.
A statement issued by MCN Attorney General Jerry Wisner after the December 1st hearing states, quote, "It is clear that the Citizenship Board followed the law in denying plaintiffs' applications for citizenship. The Muskogee Creek Constitution sets forth clear standards that make no provision for extending citizenship to non-Creek individuals. Efforts to make this case about race are legally unfounded and morally reprehensible. Race is not a consideration in the citizenship process. Petitioners for citizenship are not asked to identify their race, only to validate their lineage as a Muskogee Creek person. This case is about lineage-based citizenship, and any assertion otherwise is blatantly false," end quote. Both parties will now proceed with the discovery process in anticipation of the April 4th trial date.
So the Neanderthals have overran a lot of these things, so keep going. And like he said, take it federal. They added all these exceptionals and calling people African. You see why African as a misnomer is very, very harmful. So as the tribes continue to, not adhere to their own treaties, it's time for this to, like you said, go federal. And I'm excited to see what happens there as well. And hopefully more people will get on board. So all of this is tied in together. All of these battles, all of these acts of terrorism, all of the confiscation and removal of civil liberties and rights, it's all connected to housing, displacement, the land, public owned land, eminent domain. All of these things are connected. So that's what I've been tracing, and it's overwhelming how discriminatory a lot of these practices are. So I wanted to just kind of wrap that all up. There's a lot of strategies that are still being acted out for homelessness, and also preventing more people from being unhoused. That is the next wave. That's where we'll be going. So make sure you check out my website. But my YouTube, I'm bringing it all together, all this information. There hasn't been any problems in encountering, the encampments being moved. So far, it's been a peaceful process. That's pretty much all you can hope for and wish for, and that it's done with dignity. And I'm happy to hear about that. I'm happy to know that the people that are warm and open to receiving the help, because I think it's for once being done in a compassionate, caring way. So that's always good. So as more appointments are made, as updates are happening, as federal resources are coming down, I'll be sure to, keep tracking it and sharing it. And, this is not a sprint. It's not anything I'm rushing. I'm happy to see that these things are just kind of like happening, and before you know it, it'll be a year. It'll be a year, and so it's a lots of things happening, and it's a team effort. But there's a lot of economic opportunities that, hopefully once we get people housed, then you start talking about businesses and working and things like that to sustain it. But right now, I think a lot of these people are just tapped out of the labor market. There's not much more that can be done. Let's not forget we're on the brink of war. Let us not forget we are on the brink of war. Like, Russia is ready. Can we not forget that? Like, it's been a while since I've been able to really get into international politics, but my gosh, my goodness, like, seriously, like, come on. Seriously. It's so obvious that things are heating up. And when you pay attention to world news, then you kind of see what we following. And we are not really working on anything that should, that is preparing for this looming threat. So I'm like, okay, maybe they want you to think everything's okay. But what's happening in terms of USA news is the school shootings, the mass shootings at elementary schools, 9-year-olds, the threats that are coming in because nobody wants to deal with gun violence and put any type of restrictions. Just like some states are like, whatever happens at this point, and actually like let's get rid of all the restrictions. So that kind of took over as things are happening internationally. It's like this is like almost a civil war happening within these United States. And so communities are being affected by this. Children are being affected, and people, for some reason, still feel need to participate in these things. With that Mississippi Jim Crow, people may have also noticed the devastation that's coming in from those tornadoes. So that's so unfortunate. So we'll be paying attention to federal resources being allocated to help those people in their time of need. That's devastating. Dozens of people were harmed, and so that's unfortunate. In the midst of everything that's happening with Mississippi, that powerful storm is hurting, is really hurting. So devastating. It just swept through, pancake, flattened, and really, I don't even think because that area is not prone to tornadoes, there was a lot of warning. So I'm not sure. But checking in to the stories there, and it's too devastating. It's way too devastating. And so that's pretty much all I have. I hope to do more broadcasts more frequently. Tune in with you all. See how you're doing. It's a lot of crazy things happening right now. And so we'll make sense out of it. We'll dissect it. We'll break it down, figure out what's happening. These things are becoming more localized, I'm starting to notice as well. If you pay attention to what certain states are doing in terms of gun laws, then you'll see how the citizens are abusing the freedoms that have been allotted for gun ownership, Second Amendment rights. And so you're seeing a lot of this play out all over the country, and people are not really sure what to do about this. And so restrictions are being put in place, and I just think that people are being profiled for all the wrong things. And then the people that are causing the most damage are not being profiled. So somebody's got to start to notice some patterns and some trends with these heinous acts of violence. Somebody's got to note that there's a certain type of practice and process that's affecting the youth in these areas, because these are schools that are being targeted. this tornado, actually, I'll show you a little bit more. This hit. Did y'all know Mississippi's majority black? I know they make it seem like just a few people in power rule Mississippi, but did you know these were major black towns? Black people are everywhere. These are the Choctaw. This is the Chickasaw. These are Mississippi's full home to many indigenous groups that have since taken on the identity as U.S. citizens. You know them as African Americans now, which is a misnomer for these people. These people have no genealogical connection, but again, to displace them, to remove their indigenous rights, they just listed them as Africans and then Afro-Americans. And so, but these are very well Americans, U.S. citizens, and it's unfortunate. So we'll update, because Jim Crow's happening, like you said, the unfortunate situation and the incident with the young man, and is being played out. And so this is a de facto government. The people outweigh the city officials. Remember that? Remember that? Don't forget that part. Sorry about that. Here we go.
For survivors, the reality, they fear, they're looking for bodies. So I'm looking around town and I'm saying, I know we can rebuild, but what you do with the devastation, what you do with all the... The tornadoes landed on Friday night, ripping a trail of death and destruction through 270 kilometers of the southern U.S. state of Mississippi, changing the landscape, changing lives.
You can see that truck there, that's my brother, he's a truck driver. All of those trucks right there are his trucks. So his whole livelihood is just sitting in a pile of dirt.
Emergency help is now pouring in, doing what they can, where they can.
I want to take the opportunity to personally thank all of the volunteers that are here. What we've seen over the last 36 hours in Mississippi, on the one hand, has been heartbreaking to see the loss and devastation of these communities, but on the other hand, has been inspiring.
Tornadoes have always been a problem in this part of the country. There's nothing to indicate they're getting stronger or there's more of them. But one top U.S. official says areas like Mississippi have to be built to be more resilient.
We see extreme weather events increasing, only increasing in gravity, in severity, and in frequency. And we have to build our communities to be best prepared for them, to prevent the devastation to the extent possible, to be able to quickly respond and recover, to prove ourselves resilient.
The White House has approved federal aid for the area. That will bring temporary housing, money for repairs, and low-cost loans to cover uninsured losses. People have started to return to recover what they can, where they can. Rebuilding starts now, recovering from the loss of life and property. That will take much longer. Alan?
All right, so as you can see, you know, this was across Mississippi and Alabama. This was breaking news just a few days ago over the weekend. So.
And the full scope of what they wrought. Take a look at this. This is the town of Rolling Fork, Mississippi. As seen from above, the path of destruction looks unending. From the ground, mile after mile of rubble, houses reduced to nothing. One mayor said his whole city is now gone. The tornado's so strong, they tossed this car into the air like a toy. This is the path of the storms. As many as 12 reported tornadoes ripping across Mississippi and Alabama. At least 26 people killed across the two states. Rescue workers were out in full force overnight, and they will be working into tonight as well. We have two reports tonight, beginning with Priscilla Thompson in Silver City, Mississippi.
The devastation was swift and severe, deadly tornadoes touching down in the darkness of night across Mississippi and Alabama.
When did you notice something was going on?
When I saw the tornado,
Yeah, you saw it.
I saw it.
What'd you see?
A big whirl, big two tornadoes together.
The damage hard to fathom. Parts of homes wrapped in trees, 18-wheelers upended, entire blocks flattened. State officials report at least 25 people dead in Mississippi, with dozens more injured. The governor issuing a state of emergency.
Matter of fact, me and my relative, we was texting at the time when the storm was coming through, and I got to hear his last words.
At least 12 separate tornadoes touched down. One on the ground for a trail of 80 miles, leaving mass destruction in its wake. In Rolling Fork, Mississippi, where at least 13 died, one tornado is believed to have sent debris more than 30,000 feet in the air. Rolling Fork's mayor saying his city is destroyed.
And what we're doing now is assessing all the damage around, along with the volunteers from various counties that are here helping us to locate folk who are trapped in their homes.
It was chaos. Tracy Harden says she was lucky to survive, riding out the storm in the cooler of the dairy bar she and her husband own.
Is the cooler still back here?
Yes, this is the portion we were in.
How are you doing emotionally right now?
If I don't talk, and if I just stay busy helping somebody, I'm okay. I just don't want to stop and think about it. I don't feel like I've processed it, and I don't want to process it.
Their business now obliterated. The National Weather Service today deployed 3 survey teams to assess the damage. Images we gathered from overhead giving an initial sense of the scope in Silver City, Mississippi.
This was a room that we're standing in.
Yes, so this room right here, there was a couch that sit right here, an area couch. It's no longer here. I don't know where it's at.
Throughout the Southeast today, rescue efforts have been underway. In Alabama, where one person died, Morgan County Sheriff deputies pulling a man from the mud after a trailer overturned. He's now one of the lucky ones, as officials caution the death toll from these storms could very well rise.
And Priscilla Thompson joins me now from Silver City, Mississippi. Priscilla, give us a sense of the damage you're seeing there.
Well, Jose, the family who rode out the storm here came back to find the entire back half of their home destroyed. And while they came back to this, there are so many others here who came back to nothing. Jose?
Priscilla Thompson, thank you. Just about 30 miles southwest of Silver City is hard-hit Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Here's what it looks like today. The devastation, astonishing. That town now simply gone. Courtney Ann Jackson from our station WLBT is there. Courtney.
Jose, Rolling Fork is already a small community. The businesses that they did have now mostly been leveled. This car, an example of what we're seeing all over the town. These windows shattered, many of them busted out. You see cars on top of one another. This is at a restaurant here in town that they say was one of the main kind of hubs of folks gathering in the community. It will be sorely missed, we're told. Residents that we talked with, they're trying to process things. We saw one woman with tears streaming down her face saying, "Thank Jesus, I am still here." She says she'll replace those material possessions. The state and all of the nonprofits are already arriving here in Rolling Fork, trying to figure out how they can step in and just figure out where these people will go. Jose?
Yeah,
Thanks for watching
so basically, I don't know if we can count on Mississippi to do the right thing with the money and the resources, as these areas have been known under certain administrations to block the funding. So, so glad that the White House has already, declared this, of course, a disaster. Getting those funds out, that's devastating. That is extremely devastating. So that's what's happening here. So the weather, it's springtime. California is getting its own atmospheric rivers being dumped on our city. There's been flooding. There's been a lot going on. So, I've been tuning in and out. I've been sharing a lot of weather news and updates as well around the country as these things are happening in real time, as I continue to track some of the stories that I think is most relevant. It's we're winding down the month of March. We're getting into April. What an interesting month. This Women's History Month. Some good things are happening. I did see Madam Vice President was in Ghana. And she's going over to tours in African nations. I got other things to keep rolling and do. But I'm so happy that I can stop. Yeah, yay. She was in Ghana. That was really nice to see. It was really nice to see her getting off the plane. Let's see if I can get this going. And she went to one of the Cape Coast Castle because slavery is a tourist. Not they make it slavery a tourist stop, but that was Ghana with Portugal. So just to give some historicness to that. But she did deliver a speech during her tour of Africa, and I was watching a lot of the feeds coming in with her getting off the plane. There were crowds, school children, dignitaries, diplomats, lots of important people to greet her and want to get in and get down to business. So great. I'll share a little bit of that on a higher note. Coming up.
Vice President Kamala Harris is in Ghana today, where she's focusing on strengthening relations. Earlier, she delivered a speech expressing optimism about the future.
The United States will remain a steadfast partner for progress. I am more optimistic than I have ever been about the future and the future of the continent of Africa.
CBS News Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett is following the trip. Major, good to see you, my friend.
You know what? That's
what
why
themes have we?
Now you see why I format Melanated News. You can use the way I do. I don't care about your analysis. I don't care what you think you interpreted what she said. I'd rather she said what she said. So, the feeds coming in, her speech. That's why I know it's not always more appeasing that way. I just love the speeches. I don't care about the interpretation. I just want the rolling footage. So, but the goal is to strengthen the relations. As we noted earlier, Russia is clearing the debt. And it's very interesting. You don't see as much information on Russia canceling over all this debt, but we're going to get into it. Don't you worry. That's what I'm saying. We got to bring all this news together. We got to really publicize it. What is Russia doing in Africa? What is the interest? And how much debt was cleared? Very, very interesting. So I'm going to get into that. I'm going to keep these stories rolling. Madam Vice President making her way. And hopefully we'll sum up that trip very, very soon. Thank you. I appreciate you all for tuning in.
Russia has become a key ally to many African countries, and Putin has made significant strides in strengthening the relationship between the two regions. At the Russia-Africa and the Multipolar World Conference, Putin reiterated Russia's commitment to prioritizing cooperation with African nations. The cancellation of African debts is just one example of the bold steps Russia has taken to build a more productive and mutually beneficial relationship with the continent over the years. Welcome. This is Rain Smith, and you are watching the New Africa Channel.
Thank you for some information.
Putin has canceled more than $20 billion in debt owed by African countries. This debt had accumulated during the Soviet era. In the past, Russia had attempted to collect these debts, which were mainly a result of Moscow's previous alliances with African countries that supported its communist ideology. During this time, Russia provided military equipment and technical assistance to countries such as Angola, Algeria, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Namibia, Mozambique, Morocco, and South Africa, among others. As a result, many African nations found themselves heavily indebted to Russia, with official documents estimating the total amount at $20 billion. During the conference, Putin also revealed that the trade relationship between Russia and African nations is thriving, with the trade volume reaching a staggering $18 billion in 2022 and growing each year. In addition, Putin expressed his belief that a more robust transition to national currencies and financial settlements, and the creation of new transport and logistics networks will help facilitate the development of reciprocal economic exchanges. By taking these measures, Russia and African nations will likely be able to build stronger, more self-sufficient economies, paving the way for a more prosperous future. Additional opportunities are opened up by the process of establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area, which began in 2021, which will become a conventional market with a total GDP of more than $3 trillion, he added. During the conference, Putin expressed Russia's support for establishing connections with the African Continental Free Trade Area, both through the Eurasian Economic Union and bilaterally. He also noted that Africa is poised to become a leading player in the multipolar world. He said, "The states of Africa are constantly increasing their weight and their role in world affairs. They are asserting themselves more and more confidently in politics and in the economy. We are convinced that Africa will become one of the leaders in the emerging new multipolar world order." Despite being an international outcast with an arrest warrant looming over him, Putin remains steadfast in his pursuit of stronger ties with Africa. His unwavering commitment to the continent is rooted in his belief that Africa's economy has immense untapped potential, and he is determined to take the necessary measures to promote a bright and prosperous future for both Russia and Africa. What do you think about Russia canceling African debts?
That's a
Let
great
us know in the
fucking
comments.
question. Oh gosh, like seriously, I've been trying to not talk about Russia. Let's be fucking honest, but I'm just say this. Y'all said Russia wouldn't last 2 months in war. It's been over 12 months. So Russia's still going. United States is using the Ukraine as a buffer zone for this NATO alliance. What happens when we have a mightier Africa? So Pan-Africanists, this would be a great time for you to go head over to your favorite African nation and go act out all the ideas that you said you want to see manifested. May you be blessed and arduous on your journey. Be prosperous in your fight. And we'll just hold it down in the Americas and, enjoy Africa. Because Africa is stronger. There's also been opportunity for Africa to get into their own economic sovereignty through that Echo coin, pulling away from the European, the French money in the monetary system. So I've been waiting to see this for a while. These things were happening all throughout COVID while the world was shutting down and going crazy. As we see with inflation today, massive layoffs. I think Disney just had 7,000 layoffs. Amazon's got another 9,000 layoffs, with 18,000 layoffs being announced in January. So I'm really trying to keep some good news going. I'm not sure if it's good for one group, if it's gonna be good for another, but here we are. I'm just telling the facts like it is, and I think that's the fair way to approach it. Don't want to put too much opinion on it because we can save that for later. I think I made my opinions very well known, and I'm just excited to see something happening, some changes. This will not bode well for some groups. You'll be surprised there are some groups that thrive off of the misfortune of another group. So some people could see this as, oh, this is not good. A lot of people say that it actually weakens the U.S. dollar for there to be a stronger Africa. So it'd be great to see all those Africans over here, and they really think the United States is better. They kind of betrayed their ancestral homeland. So let's see what happens there as Africa is stronger. But with that growing population, they don't have enough water nor electricity for their own people as the population continues to increase. And Nigeria becomes one of the world's most populous, not the wealthiest. Nigeria did not become one of the world's most wealthiest nations, but it is the world's most populous and also in desperate need of water. Let's be honest, other resources. and electricity. More than 50% of Africa is light deficient in that way when it comes to electrical grids and technology. So, yep. And something actually happened with the China-Russian relations that I really don't want to get into. But oh my gosh, thank you to those that came in and chimed in. And yeah, yikes is right. Yeah, yeah. Yikes is right. Thank you. Not looking too good. But you know what? I want to kind of go back to, just to kind of wrap it up with Mayor Bass, because her next goal is all about preventing homelessness. The next step is preventing homelessness. Eviction moratoriums are up. Things are happening. She says she's really worried about it. So I just kind of suspect from here on out that's where a lot of her efforts will be. She hasn't made a lot of public appearances, meeting with some key people, deputy mayors and the likes. And so hopefully, I think she's very, very wise. I think she is so knowledgeable, has a lot of experience. I'm excited to see the solutions that she comes up with, giving all the data and information, because it doesn't make sense to be working on homelessness, okay? And you're curing homelessness, and then you're ushering in and you're allowing things to happen that's going to bring in more problems. So you solve one issue, and then here's the issue growing. As you're curing it, it's growing. We got to get it under control. It has to be under control. So preventing homelessness. I think the next initiative coming out of Los Angeles will be called Stay Housed. And what I love about these Los Angeles programs actually is the fact that the name is so easy, because that's what it is. Like, you don't have to have cute little names for it. It's called Stay Housed. The people that are homed in their home and housed, they're sheltered, especially because if you had the shelter in place and became reliant upon in a certain situation during COVID and the protections, why would you then snatch that while you're trying to cure homelessness over here? And then another problem is exacerbating and growing, and the threat is looming. So I don't think that would make a lot of sense. I think we actually have some very wise and smart people in place. So I've been working my way through the numbers. And I think that's the next step. That affordable housing. A lot of people that are working on this throughout other cities, they keep saying affordable housing is the solution. And so, but you got to get it built. So that's kind of something I learned along the way, is like, oh, it's a matter of these things need to be built. So you can see a lot more of the numbers and statistics. It's a lot to go through. And just trying to make sense out of it. The city, it has so many resources. How is it that California, if California was its own country, its own nation, it has overtaken Germany to become the 4th largest economy in the world. That's while you had a reparations task force at the same time, and you have a sister that's over the money, and a sister married to the attorney general, this is shaping up quite nicely. I see where we're going with this. Sisters, they in there. You couldn't stop this group of women. They took their education seriously. They've been waiting, and I'm from the generation where I don't have to rush. You get what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to rush any of this. We have some amazing elders before us. Some seasoned professionals, experts, authorities, people that have dedicated their life to this work. So that insight say from Mayor Karen Bass, information is on my website. Why not, when you're talking to other people about these things, because we always talk about socioeconomic issues in our community, why not say, hey, let's take a look over what she's got going on. I wanted to share this real quick. Just because if you want to know if she's helping people, and I did an interview where she's helping people, and this is quick. This one's quick. It's easy. Because her goal, just from her administration alone, wanted to impact 1,000, get 1,000 people off the street. She reached her goal. She made her goal, which was at 1,000. Let's see. Let's see if I can get this going. Just a quick, easy story. Just like I said, I'm providing updates. Very simple. Yeah. And I like to let people know that things are working because, of course, in our communities, people are skeptical. People like to ignore when good things are working in our favor because then they won't have anything to complain about. We've made it thus far throughout the pandemic. We are still here. So lucky to still be here. And finding people. All right, let's take a look. This is, I always want to give y'all some updates and show you that it's really helping people in real time, people on the ground. And
my name is Walik. Through Inside Safe program initiative, they were helping us seek housing, permanent housing. They got us off the streets. So shout out to Karen Bass for that, for real. That was life-changing. They ask us questions like, where will we prefer to be, where we not prefer to be. Then you go view the property, you give them your final approval. And yeah, I ended up liking mine and now we're here. Yeah, it's a huge relief on top of it all. As a person that didn't like the lifestyle I was living on the streets and stuff, it's a major come up. I'm grateful. I could tell you firsthand, they want to help. They want to get you off the street. They really look forward to seeing people improve their lives for the better.
Yay! Okay, that was great. That was great. Seamless here. Let's be seamless. Jeez. Okay, great. I wanted to share that just quick because I think it is sensitive. I think that's a great executive decision. So the mayor just kind of, let us know that things are happening along the way. You don't want to get too much media involved, people being exploited. But those that are willing to talk to the media, I'm so thankful that they had opportunity to share their stories. Let us know. That is helping our people particularly because we are the hardest hit by all the state-sponsored terrorism, which we have been denoting along the way. So on that note, thank you for tuning in, and thank you to my friends and everybody that has conversations with me about this because it is important and it is about the help getting down to helping those most in need. So again, reporting and sharing information, providing updates along the way. I try to do this as often as necessary because it is a lot of information. I want to make sure that we're giving it the care and attention that it deserves. We talked about everything from reparations to indigenous tribal rights and indigenous people being excluded from federally recognized tribes that have been back and forth, ceding land to the United States, friends with the United States, hijacking, infiltration, KKK taking over, eminent domain, everything meant to destroy a particular group of people. There has to be reparation. Let's keep noting that. Let's keep providing evidence. As we provide evidence, that means we're getting back in touch with our ancestors and our elders. So I'll continue to do some videos when it comes to Cherokee Nation reparations, keeping an eye on Muskogee Freeman, because if I need to, we can jump into that argument as well. We get things done around here. We take things, like you said, to federal. Let's take it to the Supreme Court, and you have to uphold. It's written there as plain as day. Like, what are we arguing here? A few people, I don't wanna, and they're not Indians. You straight up got a Scottish, Irish, albino, Austrian, Polish, changed your name, changed your identity, no evidence. And so we need to do a thorough examination of these people. There are way too many people with Neanderthal blood claiming to be indigenous. Way too many people with Homo neanderthalensis DNA claiming to be indigenous to America that is politically corrupt, and that needs to be challenged. I'll say it if nobody else will. Let's make that go viral. Let's keep reminding people the Neanderthals have taken over the indigenous American Indian nations. All right, let our voices be known loud and proud at the powwows. Let's stop pussyfooting and making this a color-coded base case. Homo Neanderthal has has said indigenous people, Americans with melanin, don't meet the blood quantums for these tribes that have betrayed its own citizens and held slaves. And remember, there's only 5 tribes that held slaves. Remember, the 5 civilized tribes. No other tribe. None of the Californias. You don't hear about that. You don't hear about the Wampanoag. You don't hear about the Tuscarora holding slaves. Only 5 civilized tribes. Let's get this straight. Everybody, keep getting your genealogical records. Go as far back. Get the actual birth records and death certificates. Let's do this. But again, let it be known, in case nobody heard, the Neanderthals have taken over American Indian Nation. So let's treat this information with respect. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Until next time, take care and good luck. That's been another broadcast. Thank you.